Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Woody Allen Retrospective right here on PlanetTyro.com. I'm your host, Donald Wonder, and I'm joined by the master of unpopular opinion, the man of supreme awkwardness, the arsehole of the millennia, Simon Rad.
The master of the correct opinion. You forgot about that part.
No.
It doesn't matter if it's popular or not. It's just the right one.
I said it right the first time. Speaking of which, in Simon's name, last time he spoke about the movie 2015's An Irrational Man, who I deal with all the time on this goddamn podcast. Guys, if you missed that discussion, I'll put a link in the top right corner of the YouTube card. Go back and listen to that. In fact, if you haven't noticed, we've been reviewing every single Woody Allen movie. Goddamn, we've done over 50 videos of recordings, whatever you want to call them. Go back in our discussion. Annie Hall, Interiors, Crimes and Misdemeanors. Jesus Christ, we've done it all. Believe it or not, we've done it all. We're closing the gap. We're nearly at the finish line. And we're getting to a very recent movie. But before that, guys, do not forget, spoilers. These movie discussions are always spoilers. Watch the movie first before we get into it and spoil it. And Simon, if you don't mind, as always, why don't you introduce today's movie and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Oh, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to this one because after so many reviews, we're so close. We're actually at last year. Well, not last year, 2 years ago, because it's 2018 now. It's early 2018, but still. But we're in 2016. Can you believe it? I think most people even remember all the promotion that they did for this movie because this is the first of hopefully many to come from Woody Allen's collaboration with Amazon Studios, his new distribution deal. So hopefully we can reference this as the beginning of a, healthy partnership. But the movie's called Cafe Society. I know, what a shock. Woody Allen tackling the problems of white people as usual. Or maybe not. Maybe this is much better than you would expect. At least it was for me. But if you don't know about it, or if you don't remember it, because even with all the advertisement Amazon put behind it, you were one of the many people who skipped this one in the theaters. This is a Woody Allen period piece set in what many consider the golden age of Hollywood. It stars Jesse Eisenberg, who's a returning Woody Allen surrogate, as Bobby Dorfman, a young Jewish boy from New York who basically is fed up with working at his dad's shop as a basic assistant and wants to move out to LA. Now, Steve Carell plays his uncle, Phil Stern, who is not exactly beloved by Jesse Eisenberg's dad, being the rich uncle to Jesse Eisenberg's character, Bobby. I believe Steve Carell is Bobby's mom's brother, but he takes him under his wing anyway. He's a very busy man, very tough to see, but eventually he lands an assistant job there to do petty chores, deliver letters, and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, on his weekends, he's being shown around by Steve Carell's assistant, played by Kristen Stewart, a longtime collaborator for Jesse Eisenberg. They did quite a few movies together. They did Adventureland and also American Ultra, and of course this one. Mm-hmm. The rest of the cast is also pretty damn good. There are some highlights here. Parker Posey from the last film, An Irrational Man, returns here as Rad Taylor. We'll talk about a cameo for my name. I never heard that as a first name. You also have people like Anna Camp, who was on True Blood, as a small little cameo role as the lovely prostitute Candy, who has one short comedic scene with Jesse Eisenberg's character.
Yeah.
But you also have a ton of other people. I mean, you have Corey Stoll, who a lot of people know from House of Cards. He was recently in Ant-Man as the villain. I forgot what that character was called. It wasn't too memorable. But
Yellow Jackets.
Whatever. But he's a terrific actor. He was Hemingway from Midnight in Paris. He plays Bobby's brother, who's one of the best characters in the movie. I mean, this guy is a terrific actor when he's given like a really elaborate character, because he's a great character actor. He's in a wig. He has a completely different accent, a completely different attitude. He even has unique facial expressions here. Really embodies this gangster type character and brings that whole subplot of the movie of him doing dirty business and getting rid of people. And they're really getting their value out of that cement machine. I'll tell you that. Because almost every scene he's in, they're throwing somebody into the cement.
I like how many times they went back to that scene. It was comical.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Yeah, he is hilarious, but basically, what's the mold between all these subplots and all these colorful characters? Well, the mold is love. Sooner or later, Jesse Eisenberg can't help but fall in love with the lovely Kristen Stewart, who really, she became a very good actress over time. A lot of her early performances were monotone, but Woddy, being an actor's director, she already shines in this movie. She doesn't do a lot of her usual shticks of looking exhausted or looking bored or emotionless or emo or depressed or whatever. She really is just a painting, I think. Like, she's painted as this very innocent and kind of, I would say, full of life, ray of light in
You know what's
Bobby's
funny?
life.
I kind of disagree with that. And just for a little aside, because I think her whole, I think she still radiates this kind of, she does look sad and emo, but a credit to her as an actress is she overcomes that. And when I saw her in this movie, I actually still think she kind of oozed this kind of, that kind of dreary attitude people did like about her that was in Twilight. But she's such a good actress. She owns it, and she actually convinces you that she might look that way, but that's not who she is. And I think in this movie, it works really to her advantage. So I still think she looks like she's kind of tired and drony and stuff, but I think her acting surpasses her face.
Well, you know what? You're right, because that's where her character goes down to ultimately. So maybe in the beginning, she has a few moments where they're driving around and she's making fun of all the big houses and talking about how, yeah, a lot of people want that life. They want the big house. They want the swimming pool, but I'm more comfortable in my apartment. She feels woke. She feels like a woke person who sees behind the curtain and beyond
Well,
the fade.
let me let you finish a subplot, because I want to dig into it. Let me let you finish what you were saying there anyway.
I'll wrap up, actually, because I want to hear your opinion. But like you said, her character ultimately does have, a negative light to her, and she acts that wonderfully, because just like she alludes to that there might be more to life than, the Hollywood image, Bobby himself gets bored of LA and decides to move back to New York. And at that point, they already have a relationship, and naturally, according to the Times, asks her to marry him. But what we didn't know as the audience up until that point, that the big heartbreak in Kristen Stewart's life was no other person than Steve Carell, Bobby's uncle. They had an affair together, and she's secretly still conflicted. Does she love Bobby? Does she love Steve Carell? Where is she going to end up? And when Steve Carell leaves his wife, that provides a bit of a conflicting situation for her. And she decides to stay while Bobby goes back and turns his gangster brother's gangster joint into a successful nightclub using some of the connections he made in LA, and becomes a high society member himself. That's why the movie's called Cafe Society, and finds a newfound, not as passionate, but more appropriate love in the beautiful Blake Lively, who plays Veronica Hayes, I believe. And that's all you need to know. And please jump right in.
You know what, man? I'm a sucker for these kind of love stories, especially when it's, unrequited love or something kind of gone wrong. And I like...
You mean things mimicking your own life?
Yeah, Simon, because every time we talk about any romance, you bring this shit up. Fuck you. If you go back to the Manhattan, discussion, you jumped on me for this shit. And yeah, I know this is the thing, man. First of all, man, people talked a lot of shit about this movie that, it's not good and this, that, and the other. I was very surprised how much I enjoyed the movie. It's not a perfect movie, but as I just said, I'm a sucker for this kind of love story. It doesn't turn out the way you expect, in a sense, but the thing I like and appreciate the most about the movie is everything is handled with a level of maturity that I was very surprised about. And let me emphasize what I say maturity, because there's a lot of movies where they do romances about love triangle, stuff like that, and they're very hokey and they're very soapy, and you've seen them before. This one, in the first half of the movie feels like it's almost in two halves. The first half of the movie, where Jesse Eisenberg comes to LA, to Hollywood, and he's trying to make a life for himself and he falls in love. This is a very optimistic story, and it ends up being with a love triangle. And the way that love triangle evolves could have been its own movie. I've seen this movie before. It's very predictable. But even the way that unfolds, the kind of heartache and betrayal, it was done in such a actually Woody had a kind of a twist on it, because it's like two of the characters didn't know that they were in a love triangle with each other until near the end of it, and when they both found out, you would think the movie would go in a direction where it would play into it and make it some melodrama, but no, it doesn't. The movie's like, you know what, this is the situation now, here's a love triangle, what you gonna do? And it doesn't end well for Jesse Eisenberg, and then that's the first half of the movie. And then I was kind of like, wow, we're not even halfway through the movie and this has already happened? What's going to happen? And then the second movie is obviously when he goes back to New York and he does his Brothers Club thing. And I just like the maturity of the movie. And I think I'm going to have to give it to the actors that just do it so well. Jesse Eisenberg, I really think he did well in this role. At first, he was mimicking that Woody Allen persona a bit I didn't like. But as he went through his heartbreaking moves, I thought he got better as the movie went on. And as for Bella, she was absolutely phenomenal. I thought she was the best actor in the movie. She was alluring, sexy. I just think she's been a fantastic actress. Everything after Twilight she's done has been really good, and she really does well in this movie. And here's the thing: people that watch this movie might not like her character, but everything she does, she actually explains it, and she's not just a straight up bitch for what she does. She made a choice. And it was believable. So I didn't hate her. As for Steve Carell, because I'll let you talk in a minute, I thought he was okay. I know he's tried to diversify himself, like in Foxcatcher. He tries to do more dramatic roles, and here it's okay. I mean, he's done the best he could. He was in, let's not forget, he was actually in the other Woody Allen movie. For a second, he was a cameo in Melinda. He was actually Colin Farrell's tennis buddy for like 2 minutes. You might have missed it, that second time in the Woody Allen movie, but he's fine. The movie is just about mostly Jesse Eisenberg and Bella. And at the end of the day, the problem I have with the movie is that Woody Allen actually put a lot more into this movie than I think it needed to be. Like, you got Jesse Eisenberg's family, and you've got Jesse Eisenberg's family. Woody Allen puts a bit more spotlight on them than I think he probably should have with his sister. Go on.
I know. But I think they're the comedic vein of the movie, because it's almost like his family is every Woody Allen Jewish character all lumped into one.
Yeah.
You have the sister who finds newfound love in an atheist who's basically this rational man, as opposed to the previous movie, somebody who's just a thinker and he contemplates all day about the meaninglessness of life, and that life's true meaning is in its own meaninglessness, and he's a humanitarian, and they have this awkward relationship with this Republican-ass neighbor they have, who's of course a fucking bum that just drinks and yells all day, and he tries to resolve the conflict with rational discussion and being courteous, and he keeps saying that every human needs to care about one another, about his fellow man. And of course, Jesse Eisenberg's brother, played by I forgot the actor's name, Corey Stoll.
Yeah.
What's the character name? Is Ben the gangster. Of course, Ben has a very different approach of dealing with the neighbor that I find way more appropriate and effective. I think that's kind of the Trump voter treatment that you need to give. But you also have Jesse Eisenberg's parents, who are, of course, hilarious. The typical Jewish parents having these arguments, and the Jewish mother being highly critical, constantly going on about the husband, where the husband's criticizing Steve Carell's character, and she's like, "You're too stupid to understand him. That's why you don't like him."
That was funny. Dumb. And then he said something like that. Look how ugly you are. I didn't marry for looks, did I? And
because he keeps talking about how Steve Carell's not a real Jew, and she's like, "You're not a real Jew either. You fat, you don't have a Jew face, and you're stupid."
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's not like it hurt the movie having those scenes in there. It just felt like he had a lot in this movie that felt a bit superfluous, but was still welcome. So I'm like, I don't mind all the stuff in here, but it kind of padded out the movie, and then the focus shifted a bit, and I also felt like, actually, before I just jump on criticism, the two thorough themes, the thorough lines for this movie, where I think Woody Allen's inspiration is probably the most dangerous aspect of Woody Allen's whole career. The thing that has made his career, his real life, so dangerous is the theme of this movie is ultimately, the heart wants what it wants.
Yep.
That's Woody Allen's whole thing. And that's the thorough line to the movie. And it's cool. I like that. I love romances that kind of go down that line. And again, the movie ends in not such a perfect ending. And for some reason, because it's such a big passage of time in the movie, it made it hard to swallow in a 2-hour bite. I'm like, I don't want to spoil things. The next discussion we're going to have is about Woody Allen's TV series. Woody Allen had enough content in here for an Amazon TV. This should have been Woody Allen's TV series, because this movie spans probably 10 years from minimum 5 or 6 years. How long do you think how much time do you think there was in this movie in terms of story?
Definitely a couple of years. I would say most definitely at least, let me count it. 2, 3, 4, at least 5, I would say. At least 5, because you have multiple pregnancies.
Yeah.
Plus there's at least a year gap between him leaving LA, which is basically a second half of his love story angle, then meeting up with Steve Carell and Kristen Stewart back in New York when he's already very successful in terms of managing the club, and seeing how she changed. And yeah, you're right. But at the same time, maybe it's just that I really, really like the movie because this movie really appeals to my own sensibilities. But I love the era. I love both the gangster era. I love classic Hollywood. I think this is the first movie Woody shot on digital. And I gotta hand it to him, for somebody handling digital for the first time. This is one of his best looking movies.
It looks amazing.
Most digital movies these days look so bland and boring and dull and just look like shit, and it makes you wish for film, because film has a natural high quality to it. So even when the cinematography is, average, you still get that nice texture, whereas in digital it just looks like they shot it on an iPhone. Or in Amazon's case, probably one of the crappy Amazon projects they have, with like the 4D screens and all that crazy stuff. But basically, this movie looks beautiful. And I think the fact that they could use digital editing so easily, I mean, even when you shoot on film, you can edit on digital. But I just think the pacing improved immensely. A lot of these films that aren't instant classics from Woody Allen kind of tend to dwell on things a bit too long. The story loses traction. I thought this is a very tightly directed movie, very masterfully done. Woody combines a very cinematic and larger than life aspect to portraying these people's lives with a super realistic character depiction and acting and character arcs. It's like the combination of both of his strengths, really molding together beautifully.
Yeah.
I thought, the love story is so relatable. There's so many characters that feel like people I know, and even I recognize myself in them. But at the same time, it's really an escape to an era of the past. And outside of the fact that nobody from the main cast, outside of, Corey Stoll, really tries to capture the accents of the era. Nobody sounds like I'm from the 50s, boy.
Yeah,
hey,
good catch.
What's
good
up,
catch.
Mac?
Yeah, good
What's
catch.
up, Mac? Johnny Stiletto is sleeping with the fishes. I mean, nobody really sounds like Quagmire from Family Guy.
Shane, I know what you mean, Simon. I know exactly what you mean.
It's curtains for you, Johnny. It's curtains.
It's curtains for you, Simon. I agree.
Yeah.
Look, do you know what? I don't know, man, because I look at this movie. Woody Allen does phenomenal. His best movies are love stories, A Manhattan and Annie Hall. And I look at this and I was watching it, I was like, you're nearly there, but there's something about the execution of the love story. And it's not that it wasn't a successful love story. It's not that, because again, Annie Hall didn't end well. And neither did Manhattan. So it's not that. It's just that there's an edge missing that didn't put this love story in the pantheon of his others. Now I know it doesn't have to be a great movie. It's a good movie. It's a better movie than I heard. People that don't like this movie, I think they're a bit snooty. And as for as for Lex Luthor Jr., definitely the best thing I've seen him in, in the last couple of years. And Kirsten Stewart is phenomenal. But, I don't know, man. There was something, I don't know if it was there was too much or something, or I honestly think there was a lot in this movie. Actually, we never spoke about Blake Lively's character, because a lot of people complain that, her character's kind of the afterthought. She just comes to heal Jesse Eisenberg's character. And I'm like, yeah, I wish they gave her something more to do, I guess, but she's fine. Look, I think there's nothing really wrong with the movie. I just think there's something holding it back from reaching its full potential, but it's not the movie everyone was. I heard so much bad things about the movie. It's lame. Woody Allen's done better before. Woody Allen's just going back to the well. Let me tell you something. I'll be the first one to tell you, but Woody Allen's just going back in that well and doing the same shit. In fact, you might hear me say that very soon. But this time, it was good enough. It was not unique enough, but he had that idea with the heart wants what it wants, with not an unrequited love, with a kind of a failed or a what if relationship, and it did work. But by the end of it, I was kind of like, didn't land in the feels exactly, but for me, this movie was just good enough. And I know I'm being an arsehole even nitpicking the movie this bad, but considering what I'm saying about the movie, that's a lot better than what other people are saying. I think this is a good movie. I actually really enjoyed it. I'm surprised people dislike this movie to the extent they do.
Yeah, man, I didn't understand any of those criticisms. Like I said, the movie had a lot of promotion and hype behind it. Obviously, with it being a period piece, Woody having more money to play around with, and it seemed to be, having a good launch. At least here in the UK, it seemed to be the right movie for the right type of audience. They even released a lot of scenes online to promote it. It seemed to be getting traction, and then it kind of disappeared. There was people like they didn't come back to it during the Academy Awards season.
No.
And maybe it was already the controversies kind of coming back out into the open. I really suspect that none of these actors come out, from my knowledge so far, to denounce Woody Allen, especially, people that probably are under fire like Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart, because they're still boycotting everybody who ever worked with Woody Allen.
These two, I'm glad you brought up. These two haven't said anything. I think they're actually still supportive of Woody Allen. So from what I can see, they haven't jumped on the bandwagon.
So respect to them. And to be honest with you, I'm probably even more positive than you are. I really enjoyed this movie, and I was very pleasantly surprised that I just had a great time watching it, even when, the second half comes in, when Kristen Stewart's character becomes everything she made fun of earlier in the movie, when she was the woke character who saw beyond, the image of Hollywood and the empty shallowness of it, and becomes a shallow housewife herself. And the movie turns ironic, where Jesse Eisenberg, who didn't understand the affair and cheating, even though he expressed understanding towards his uncle, when his uncle was crying his heart out and he didn't know who the lady in question was, when he starts having second guesses about his own relationship with Blake Lively, and this old flame comes back, and
that's the maturity I'm talking about. It handles all of that stuff in a not this soapy way. I really like the maturity, because a lot of movies don't handle. That's why people like 500 Days of Summer, even though that's a bit more meta. I just like the way it handled it so maturely, and I think that showed to Woody's writing in his age, And it's the same thing he's done in Manhattan and Annie Hall, but I don't know why I can't feel it reaches that level.
But here's the thing. Like, I've been thinking about this because I enjoyed it, watching it so much. And the movie does cut off. Like, it has this ending where it doesn't go into the melodramatic of, will he leave his wife? Will they get back together? Is it happy ending? It's just like they both reach a point of their lives where they realize they still have feelings for each other, but they're already tied into engagements. And they're kind of just unhappy because the hearts wants what it wants, and sometimes it wants someone else. And that's a mature conclusion. Now, I'll throw this question to you, because the movie's very well made. Does it scream the kind of higher art? I don't even know. I don't want to go down the route of interiors, of pretentiousness, with these crazy labels. But if you compare it to Woody's best, all the movies he personally hates and thinks are mediocre, like Manhattan, for instance. But it doesn't really reach that level. But I was thinking about
I was wondering. No, sorry, let you finish. Go on.
Yeah, I'm almost done. But basically, I was thinking about a certain phase in Clint Eastwood's career as a director, where he did a lot of good movies, directed a lot of good movies back to back. And then he just seemed to keep going for the same theme. So this was around, $1 Million Baby, Gran Torino, so on and so forth.
Dude, you're so funny for bringing that up, because he's got a movie out right now that people are just that Paris Train True Story, that people are saying that's his problem right now. I want to keep bringing that up.
Yeah, and I remember when that Matt Damon movie came out about the tsunami or some natural disaster he was like a medium or something. It was another movie that was really aiming to take the concept to its full potential, like be a serious drama, Academy Award level, and it even had great special effects when it came to that tsunami sequence, but it was too much for people. It was too heavy-handed. It was like it was trying too hard to reach the same pinnacle that his previous films, and people were like, not every movie you direct has to be an Oscar-winning, multi-nominated masterpiece. You can just let the story be the story that it needs to be and sit back a bit and just direct the film. You don't have to try too hard. So I think maybe if this movie was trying to do more things or too many things at the same time with some of these experimental Woody Allen movies like Melinda, or To Rome with Love, where you have multiple storylines or some sort of gimmick, maybe it would have turned out in the opposite direction. Maybe the fact that it's so focused on what it wants to do, and Woody makes it look so easy to direct this, on one hand, emotionally complicated love story with such maturity and making it so relatable, even though it's a period piece, but still not letting the fact go that this can be very exciting and very inviting to kind of paint a picture of this old period. It's very cinematic, like both the gangster era, New York, Los Angeles, the stars of Hollywood, the golden age of Hollywood. He totally owns up to it and really paints those pictures. But at the same time, he pulls a twist and deconstructs all those elements and says, okay, how does this boil down to real life? What does it really matter to live in that world? And what are your real priorities, or what your real priorities should be? It feels like the two main characters are the happiest when they're broke, but they have each other. And when they become successful and happily married later on, they're actually miserable. Even, Ben, my favorite character, the motherfucking gangster, even his storyline wraps up super realistic, where they actually arrest him. He gets the best lawyers, but he still gets convicted and ends up in the electric chair.
Oh, please tell me that joke that his mum said when they were talking about it, like, he's converted to Christianity, and his dad's like, yeah, because he wants to believe in the afterlife. And what did she said something really fucked off that, like...
because they didn't know how deep he was into the game.
Yeah.
So she was like, first it turns out he's a killer, then he converts to Christianity.
Yeah.
So he's a murderer and a Christian. I don't know which one's worse. What did I do to deserve this?
That was funny. And then that's when the dad was like, yeah, but he wants to believe in the afterlife. She's like, so what? You just die, you go. You die. What's the problem? Funny.
And his dad is like, I'm not bothered by it. And she's like, because you're too stupid to think about the consequences. That's why you're not bothered by it.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't bothered by the side stuff, like I said, and I guess I want this movie to be great when it's just really good, and that's a weird thing for me to even have as criticism. But guys, let's not drag this on. There's no need for me to tail off anything you said, Simon. You really much said it all. I've got nothing much to say except for going on the review scores, looking at it. This is really weird because I'm on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and actually, this is the best reviewed Woody Allen movie since Blue Jasmine. It's 70% on the Rotten Tomato meter. It's over 50% from the audience score, the people's. But the reviewers are still like, people are very disappointed. At the end of the day, I think, again, people are holding Woody Allen up to his own high standards. Actually, I think the most ironic thing is, I think people are actually being Woody Allen. Like, the movie's whatever. They criticize the movie as bad as he would. It's on that. Yeah, you think it's great. I think it's shit. But
it's not Stardust Memories. It's not as good. Nobody has a fever dream about a dead rabbit. It doesn't have that high art and that elegant artistic twist to it.
Yeah, man, I do want to end on saying this, man. I don't say this a lot in the retrospective, even with the movies I love. But you know what? I actually want to watch this movie again because I'm a sucker for these kind of romances. And for some reason, I feel like I would get more from watching it a second time. It's just how I feel. And this is, for me, surprisingly, a high recommendation. Saying that, do I think it's in his top 10 Woody Allen movies? Probably not. Or if it is, the near bottom of the 10. But I really enjoy this movie. And for me, it has high rewatchability, which I have not said a lot if you've listened to me in all these discussions.
Oh, yeah. And I'll second that. To me, it's very enjoyable. And it's definitely one of the best films that came out in 2016. I think that's what's really missing in terms of the perception of this movie. That, okay, Woody Allen has done quote unquote better movies or more commercial movies or films that are easier to kind of praise and hold in high regard. But compared to everyone else, this is still really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, compared to a lot of movies that came out in 2016, this is much better and, you know, really deserved a higher spot. I think we're just used to, especially I think between the second half of the 2000s and the 2010s of Woody doing experimental movies in between and then coming back with a home run. So when he does something that's actually just really, really good and really enjoyable, you're like, I don't know how to rate this movie or how to really approach it, because on one hand I really had fun with it, but on the other hand, is this another match point? It's not really match point.
Yeah.
But then again, what is? You know, so to me, it's a victim of its director's own success or own high caliber standards. But on its own, as a 2016 drama / comedy, I guess light drama, it's really freaking good. I really recommend it. This is a beautifully shot movie, a very well told story with some great acting. And again, you know, Steve Carell, he's trying to diversify his character. He was good in what was that Wall Street movie about all the assholes?
About all the assholes. Oh shit! It's got a one-word title or something. There's something or.
See, we're both blanking on it. Ryan Gosling and Christian Bale.
With your girl, you don't even want to defend I, Tonya right now. That's a different discussion.
Stop with the spoilers to a different discussion. Well, Margot Robbie, yeah. I forgot. I just keep thinking about Moneyball with Brad Pitt, but it's not Moneyball. It's got a name like the anyway. Whatever, guys. Listen. Yeah, and he was good in Foxcatcher. So again, he's a treat in here too. Point is, well directed, well told, well acted. This movie's a treat. It's really fun to watch, and I think even though it doesn't have a big Hollywood ending or a happy ending in the traditional sense, it's still a good romantic movie to watch with, you know, a significant other. So
sure, 100%. And you know what, man, Amazon were very happy with this because they were like, Woody, the first time you're with us, you give us a gem. Critics, audience like it a lot. He probably made a lot of money. I didn't check on the budget right now, but you know what, Woody?
Not that much.
All right, but you know what, Woody? Amazon, we are Amazon. We've got this TV section that we're trying to rival that big company Netflix with. So why don't we give you another fat check and you write us a TV series? And let me tell you something right now. I'm not getting into too many spoilers, but I wish Cafe Society was that television series. And if you want to find out why in more detail, check out our next discussion, because we are going to be talking about Woody Allen's Amazon series Crisis in 6 Scenes, just to complete this retrospective. So on that note, I'll leave you guys hanging and say thank you for Simon for joining me on another recording right at the finish line.
It was good. I'm actually glad we got to do this for movies like this, because I missed this in theater. We were going to watch it and then I don't remember, but somehow we got sidetracked and missed it in theaters. Maybe because nowadays they put movies out for like 2 weeks and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, the movies that, you know, if it's not a superhero movie, then it ain't going to be there for more than fucking a week. But on that note, guys, the sad truth is, and I know I'm being hyperbole when I say this, we might even never get another Woody Allen movie in the theaters if things go a certain way. So stay tuned, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow us on the retrospective. Don't forget, we've got the playlist there for the Woody Allen retrospective. We've got the website WoodyAllenRetro.com. Thank you for listening, guys. Again, just thanks for all the love, support, listening on the podcast. We'll leave it at that, guys. We're near at the finish line. And until then, we'll see you on the next recording.